April 27th, 2022. I'm watching a piece from this morning's news program. It's a new commercial that they did. It has this very je ne sais quoi in a pierre de résistance. Mais je ne sais pas from where. It is the commercial, without knowing any history, because I don't. And here's what really frightens me. I will give the biopsy in English of the synopsis of the visual with the character word. However, I have seen once on one of these, I don't know how they get film cameras, not professional journalism, but from the Office of Importance Direct, and I don't know what word they use, almost at a, I know that for me, there's president level. I don't know where in the world ambassador and prime minister is outside of president, because they don't teach such things in here. So I once saw a very heated something or other between an ambassador for a prime minister, something to do with Turkey, Cyprus, and then Turkey, Cyprus, and Greece. I don't know what the message was on, but it was on New York airwave on some accidental flipping through the channels, and I was like, now that's an interesting accent. So I started listening, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh. But I don't know what it means, because I don't know the geography, I don't know the people, I don't know the context, I don't know what the fight was over. Just in the back of my mind, it's a red flag for could be a possibility of anger somewhere else in the world, could be over business, I have no idea. Then this morning comes on this Airline. It's a commercial. So it's the ambassador thing was real, supposedly, for them, which was broadcasting into New York. Now you go to, I don't know, is it Hollywood? Is it part of Hollywood in the broadcasters network? For commercials, I don't know how. Again, they don't teach this. It's part of their communication process, the humans, and between humans and aliens. I don't know how to interpret it. So it says something about Turkish Airlines, and they have a very, I don't know, I would say roast beef in a pan colored actor by the name of Morgan and Freeman. So that by itself, again, confuses the context. When you mince words, it gets confusing right off the bat. I know catcher's mitt size is important for this one, but it's Morgane, and then Freeman, and some other past whatever. But this very noir in whatever is sitting on this airline, it looks like by himself, and it says fly Turkish Airlines, and he tells of how they forever have brought lands together. I was like, that is a really interesting theatrical debut today, after there was a prisoner swap I heard later on in a different broadcast, when I switched from 2 to 7. One didn't say where the swap was taking place, the other one said more. But again, I'm in the Big Apple, I'm in this Empire State, I'm in this position of, I mean, again, I don't even like the word voyeurism, because it's not, I mean, in a soup plant type of a way, and jamais. It is so difficult to be here under these conditions. So this is what it looks like. This is the day.
This portion of CBS 2 News is brought to you by Raymore and Flanagan.
300 million years ago, there was no Africa, Asia, Americas, or Europe. Just one big supercontinent, Pangea. And today, there is still a force connecting those divided by distance, reversing millions of years of rifting, making far feel close, bringing there to here. Turkish Airlines.
I thought that interesting. At the same time that was being held, there is a very interesting talk on the rep who calls herself Hispanic, and I do not want argument over labels, because if she has a headshot and she's not speaking and there's no symbols anywhere displayed, perhaps somebody might think she comes from somewhere else. But she is labeled here as a Hispanic, so I am not disputing that, but I am not also agreeing with it. I don't know. It's beseeched to my ear at the moment. It's what GMA3, What You Need to Know, says, and the ABC people. But what she says is very interesting, because the New York airwaves speaks of people crossing from, big context, big words, from Mexico, even though they might not be Mexican, but Mexico to Texas, and then they scatter. That's the way that they present it when you are a couch potato and you have no insider trading on whatever human traffickers do. So I'm listening with that, and then I found out along the way there's a place called Tijuana. Then I watched something called a Jumanji from Hollywood. There's some whatever. But I'm watching and listening intensely, because they do not speak of prior. They say they were part of a war, they were part of this, part of that, and they just know to make it to Mexico to try to get into the U.S. and be part of this American law program. Why are the potential future troublemakers better versed and better positioned once they get in than the kids that are being born here, that are family reps of the estate that handles White House business, and that others elsewhere rely on to be honest and forthcoming? I mean, so technically this morning they did something about, because once you get into The Americas, they claim to have a two-party system, a donkey and an elephant. That's it. There's no camels. So it gets confusing when I hear stuff going around, because now it's like, wait, that wasn't part of the original party system. So now, how do you... I mean, camels go a long distance without water. So that's a problem also, because water needs to be involved, because we're talking about gardening and tending to the nursery. And here we are, they're not even staying as donkey and elephant for party system, for symbols. And then there's, like, I mean, this morning they were mentioning something about Southeast Asia, so I'm like, so if they make it to Tijuana from Southeast Asia, and they label themselves with this whatever, and they make it across the borders, now you're telling me that now they're in here trying to do whatever work that's not working for the donkey or the elephant? That's a problem.
People making the dangerous journey because of war, because of climate change, because of the dangerous conditions in their country. They've been making this dangerous journey, and they've been waiting on the shores of America.
Waiting on the shores of America. While I'm trying to find some family representatives to come recruit me or hire me, or in some respectable manner find out how my family members who run the estate, where and how they need me to helpfully participate. And at the moment, they seem to be busy with people on the shores ready to come into America. And this has been an ongoing problem for my generation, Linda's generation. So it's generations in now, in neglect of home responsibility, needing to take precedence over this whatever confusing matter.
Where they know there's a law in place that allows them to apply for asylum, but they've been stopped because they can't. So there are people waiting at the border to be able to use American law.
Okay, so now they're waiting at the border to use American law. At the same time, I have places like Harvard who already let some of these problems in, swore that they weren't a problem, taught them law, allowed them into American law schools. I was denied access to the law school. And now we're flash forward more time. These are major problems within the system that I don't see being addressed properly.
So we do expect to see that people will see some numbers increase, but that's why we have to be prepared. And so I was glad to see the Secretary's plan to mobilize folks down there, working with NGOs, having more processors to process folks down there. And Congress has allocated $1.4 billion in 2022 to make sure that the preparations are underway and to have the resources to help make sure that we're coordinating and we're getting people processed as quickly as possible. And if there's a need for more resources, that we have those conversations with Congress to make sure that we give them what they need to make sure that this goes as smoothly as possible.
For what is what my question is. You mean to bring more of these people from whatever into an already besieged system that is having trouble recovering in a timely fashion? That, I mean, this is just ridiculous. So now they're inside the Congress, inside the interior of the United States is what she's saying. And they're budgeting and allocating, they're changing laws, they're making laws only for further allowance of the degradation of the system. I don't see where any preparation has been made for watering, tending to the garden of the seeds that are in a meadow and a flower position that usually are top priority at the alien breeding program. But for some reason, there's been breakdown within even that area. So now this gets further confusing. Now here's a question. I have a child somewhere within this age frame. I also have older children. Why are this level of preparation and thought and business and teachings and opportunity and value going into these kids when in gardening and family estates, men and countrymen here at national security of our family, there has been no efforts made?
Tasty vegan popsicles. Stay with me. They're called Moki Pops, and it's an all-in-the-family effort now gaining in popularity. You're going to meet the three young siblings in Atlanta inspired by a challenge from mom and dad.
Now, how do mom and dad know to set challenges? Where do they get that allowance from? Where are their instructions coming from? Where is the divide? Because they're in Georgia and Atlanta. I'm in New York, the Big Apple. Why is my area management not informing me of these things, but yet they're taking place in Atlanta, Georgia? Just curious.
Mochi Pops is an all-natural vegan popsicle business that me and my two siblings here started.
Our children started Mochi Pops 7 years ago when we challenged them to come up with something creative for the summer besides watching electronic devices. They had already been making popsicles for the family.
Who is instructing them? Who is giving them funds and resources? And who is better preparing them as parents and the children within some kind of societal norm and within a future plan or already built into a plan? Whereas my children have been built out of succession. How did that happen? And who's responsible for inquiry and to fixing the brokenness that I have going on in New York?
Family, and they decided they wanted to start their own business.
I've been running this business since I was 5. I've been working with the money and transactions and just serving the people, customer service. My title in Monkey Pops, it's the cheaper flavors.
My position here for Mochi Pops is the social media expert. So I reach out to businesses that want to collab with us.
They went to their first event, they sold 85 popsicles in 45 minutes, and then the next week they sold 300 popsicles in 2.5 hours.
Where I come from, we call this meandering. Somebody gave somebody, through whatever movement, some venture capital, some education that already outpaced some of the vulnerable danger children of the family. So now they're misusing family resources and education to further promote dangerous behaviors where already successful in a pace that's whatever is now growing at a dangerous pace and outpacing some of the family members. Isn't that where meandering comes from in like the bully? That's usually like a chapter 7. I'm only an 8.
That's when it started to kick off, and we decided that we should take this into further consideration.
From then to now, our business has changed a lot. We were doing a lot more festivals and staying out late.
Now here's something. They don't really, I've been documenting for a while. They do not put up on the Channel 7 news at noon. They do not say, like, indictments and things, not usually. But today they did. which I found really interesting because it was the Southern District of New York. And I'm like, Now, this is the reporter.
With the United States Southern District of New York unsealed an indictment charging several suspects with orchestrating a fraudulent scheme that nearly jeopardized financial markets globally. And among those charged, the owner of Archegos Capital Management.
I've never even heard of these companies. I mean, this is such like a large wingspan. I mean, this I paused and I read through. It's like a no-brainer, got that. And then this is the person, I don't know what his name is, it doesn't say.
We allege that the defendants and their co-conspirators lied to banks.
So this is...
banks to obtain billions of dollars that they then use to inflate the stock price of a number of publicly traded companies. The lies fed the inflation, and the inflation fed more lies.
The owner of our...
Oh wait, so this is up here. Is the credit that they're...
of Archegos, Bill Wang, is charged with pumping this company's portfolio from $1.5 billion to $35 billion.
$1.5 billion. As if that wasn't such a huge amount that one person could not feed. I mean, like, they could feed themselves and so many people for one life frame. But he went from 1.5 to 35 billion and pumped up his value? Why?
In 1 year, UBS, Switzerland's biggest bank, lost $861 million as a result of the scheme, according to the prosecutors. Wang and CFO Patrick Halligan are charged with racketeering conspiracy, securities fraud, and wire fraud offenses.
New details. A Brooklyn man.
These things, at some level, should be really easy to track. With all that the market has been inflated and pumped, and then money used to enhance all sorts of things that shouldn't have been done, why is it not easier to shut these things down? I don't understand this particular lever, or like echelon. Now here's from the professional that they have installed at the moment in New York City. This is what his words are.
Transit police personnel. You walk downstairs.
Wait, hold on.
As you see 5. Disappointed in the deployment of transit police personnel. You walk downstairs, you see 5 transit officers standing at the booth looking at their phones. We just can't continue to do that.
Mayor Adams is ready to get officers more involved with fighting subway crime.
I want police officers on the train. You know, I was a transit cop. I wrote the trains, and I wrote it by myself.
The call for officers to ride trains comes as the MTA chairman created a new fare evasion panel with hopes that crime can be...
Fare evasion panel.
Stopped by cutting down on those jumping the turnstile or entering through the emergency exits. Now Mayor Adams asking for strap hangers to take pictures of officers on their phones so he can address the issue with their supervisors.
We are going to start taking very aggressive actions to make sure police are patrolling our subway system and not patrolling their iPhone. And so you are going to see a visible difference in policing in the next couple of weeks.
Even though some prosecutors have said that they will not prosecute those who evade fares, Mayor Adams saying that the NYPD will continue to make arrests and issue civil summonses. Here in Lower Manhattan, I'm Candace McCowan, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
And here, this is a message from President Biden coming on.
It's on the refugee crisis and humanitarian efforts beginning tomorrow on Eyewitness News, First at 4.
President Biden this morning leading a final goodbye to the late former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright. Dignitaries and political elite joined President Biden and former Presidents Obama and Clinton. They were among more than 1,000 mourners at her funeral today at Washington National Cathedral. It was President Clinton who picked Albright to be his top diplomat and the highest-ranking woman ever in the U.S. government at the time.
Madeline had the same role that I do and others here do. No matter what's happening in my day, as President Obama can tell you, or who I'm meeting with, if one of my children calls, I take the call. She was the same way. Ann, Alice, Katie, and their grandchildren, each of you is literally a tribute to her enormous capacity to love.
Madeleine Albright died of cancer last month. She was 84 years old.
Now, that President Joe Biden message means a lot, especially when I then turn on a few seconds forward in the same broadcast, and there's a commercial paid for and being run by whom I do not know, about Title IX.
1700.
No person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance.
And these are all the success stories. I am not. I am something completely different. It says honoring 50 years of women moving the world forward. In cause and effect, I've been affected, and not in a positive light. It says the stories of Title IX coming this June. ESPN in partnership with Champion, Google, and Gatorade. All right, last piece before I end it because it's getting rather lengthy. Yesterday for Dr. Jen on GMA3 from ABC, the producers put together baby goats, which I think they call kids, baby goats in a barn in hand knit sweaters, which I thought, the fact that she was so touched, I was so touched. Today on the news, I don't normally share the animal, whatever, but today, I noticed there was a important piece about eagles, since that's us and the family estate. It's our, I don't know the word for it in English. I don't know the word for it in other languages either. At the moment, it eludes me. It's not an icon. It's not an idol. Of perhaps maybe it's the icon is the correct. It falls so short on its symbolic meaning that English actually falls short of what I need at the moment for its importance. But on Catalina Island, there are 8 nests, I believe, is what the gentleman says. One of the babies got knocked out of the nest by accident and was clinging onto the rocks and the cliff. And Good Samaritan hikers, I guess, who are watching the videos, hiked an hour to get there and then rescued the baby eaglet, it's eaglet, I believe, when they're small, but baby eagle, and put it back in the nest. And that's what they portrayed today.
A rescue squad raced to save a baby eagle from the side of a cliff on Catalina Island. Check this out. The eaglet was fast asleep on Monday when an adult eagle accidentally kicked it out of the nest. Wildlife researchers watched the 3-week-old on a live stream as it tumbled through a rocky area and struggled to find its nest. People were just mesmerized. They just kept watching. A team of rescuers hiked an hour to reach the baby. They made it just in time and gave the bird a quick checkup.
I just checked its legs and its wings to make sure there wasn't any obvious breaks. There's only 8 pairs of eagles on Catalina Island, and losing one chick can be a pretty big impact.
Oh, a few hours after the rescue, the adult eagle returned home. The eagles are part of a 40-year program to reintroduce the birds to Catalina Island.
Pretty cool. And now their story is part of a Disney Plus series that we'll be running. I feel like it was a Disney story waiting to be told. We had everything in it.
There's something very captivating about these little baby eagles. I don't know.
Little fuzzballs. It's good to see their numbers increasing too, globally.
Yeah.
You know, once an endangered species, obviously. Here's a look outside right now across the Brooklyn Bridge.
It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken. And it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.